Hello and welcome. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. The Yoon administration is marching into the midpoint of its 5-year term. And this week, the top office is taking the time to brief the public on its achievements and upcoming tasks to fulfill. President Yoon Suk-yeol will appear at any moment to address the nation himself. This will be his first press conference in about 2.5 months now, format-wise. The president will deliver a national address first, followed by a Q&A session with reporters. So shortly, he'll take the time to reflect on the first half of his term and draw his plans for the remainder of his term. In fact, according to a senior aide, Yoon will address all questions regarding matters of public interest, which could well include recent allegations that he and First Lady Kim Geun-hee may have interfered in party politics in 2022. In fact, the top domestic policy aides for President Yoon on Tuesday explained what had been done so far and what the nation can expect for the second half of his term. The first things were the 4+1 reforms. They are labor, education, medical, and pension, plus the low birth rate. It looks like he's about to deliver his remarks. We'll come back right afterward.
Hello everyone. Today, the President Yoon Suk-yeol will address the nation, and I am the spokesperson of the presidential office. He will first deliver his message.
존경하는 국민 여러분.
Honorable Korean
얼마
citizens,
전까지 더위가 계속되더니
until recently,
이제 아침 저녁으로
it was very hot in the daytime, but now we have
국민 여러분들
chilly
어려움이
breeze
없으신지
in the mornings and evenings. I'm worried if
대통령이라는
there are any
자리는
difficulties in
늘
your
걱정이 많은
livelihoods.
자리입니다. 더울 때는
President
더워서
is a
걱정이고
person I believe is
추우면 또 추위가
a person with many worries. When it's hot, I worry about the heat. When it's cold,
장사하시는
I
분들
worry about the cold
장사가 안
weather.
될까 걱정이고
When the economy is sluggish, I worry about the business owners. And when the economy is good,
물가가 또
I
올라서
worry
많은 분들
about the
지갑이
inflation.
상대적으로 더 가벼워질까 그게 또 걱정입니다. 365일 24시간
365 days, 24 hours a day.
국민들도 열심히 일하고 힘드시지만 저 역시도
The people
365일
are always
24시간
working very hard.
국민의
And
삶을
myself as
책임지는
well.
것이 대통령의 어깨에 놓인
I believe
책무라는 생각이
is the
듭니다.
responsibility of the president to be constantly
그렇지만
concerned as well of
몸이 부서져라 일을
the
해도
well-being of our citizens.
어쨌든 국가와 국민의 민생을 위해서 일을 한다는
Anyhow,
보람에
I
힘든지
feel
모르고
rewarded
늘
knowing
행복한
that I am
마음으로
working for the people, and I am
임기 발언
always
전까지 이렇게
happy
왔습니다.
to know this point,
돌이켜보면은
to this
지난 2년 반
midpoint
동안
of my presidential
국민에게
term.
맡기신 일을 어떻게든 좀
Looking back
잘해내기
over the
위해서
past 2.5 years,
쉬지 않고
I've worked
달려왔습니다.
tirelessly to fulfill the mission entrusted to me by the people. I know there were
제 진심은
shortcomings
늘
in
국민 옆에
your eyes, but
있었습니다.
my heart has always been with
또
the
저의
people.
노력과는 별개로 국민들께 걱정을
And
끼쳐드리는
despite
일도
my efforts,
많았다고
there have been
생각합니다.
many times that
민생을 위해
I have caused concern to
대한민국의
you.
미래를 위해
For the livelihoods
시작한
of the
일들이
people,
국민 여러분께
we've started
불편을 드리게
initiatives, and those initiatives
또 제 주변의
caused
일도
you
국민들께
discomfort,
걱정과
and also
염려를
issues
드리고
surrounding
했습니다.
myself have also
대통령이라는
caused
것은
you to worry.
변명하는 자리가
President is not a
모든 것이
person
제 불찰이고
who gives
제
excuses.
부덕의
Everything
소치입니다.
is all
국민
because of my
여러분께
shortcomings and
먼저
lack of virtue.
죄송하다는
I
말씀,
sincerely
진심으로
apologize to the
사과의
people
말씀부터 드리고
for any worry or
그리고
inconveniences
국정
caused
브리핑을
to the people
진행하겠습니다.
before I begin this administrative briefing.
앞으로도 챙기고 또 살펴서
In the future, I
국민
will
여러분께
keep abreast
불편과
of
걱정을
everything
드릴 일이 없도록 최선을
so that
다하겠습니다.
I do my best not to cause any
국민 여러분,
inconveniences
오늘 이 자리에 오늘
Honorable Koreans,
대통령에 취임했을 때
standing here today brings back
나라
memories
상황이
when I was
매우 힘든
inaugurated.
것은 알고 있었습니다만
I knew that the
막상
circumstances
취임하고 보니 모든
home and
여건이
abroad were
생각했던
very
것보다 훨씬 더
unfavorable,
어려웠습니다.
but in real it had been even worse than I had
지속되고
anticipated.
있었고, 이러한 가운데
The ongoing effects of
러시아가
COVID-19
우크라이나를
pandemic
침공했습니다.
was lingering, and
글로벌
Russia
공급망 교란으로
invaded
원유,
Ukraine.
식량, 원자재 가격들이
Disrupted
치솟았고
global supply chains,
고물가,
caused
고환율이
prices to soar in oil and raw materials,
당시의 거시지표를 보면
and high inflation,
2008년
high interest rates, and exchange rates.
더 혹독한
And looking at
글로벌
macroeconomics
복합 위기 상황이었습니다.
indices, it was even a worse situation than the 2008 financial crisis.
다른 거시지표도 훨씬
Other
어려웠지만 그래도
macroeconomic
2008년에는
indices
중국의 경제
were
성장률이
very dire,
9.7%
but
10% 가까이 됐기 때문에 대중
the,
수출이라든가 이런 측면에서는 어려움이 없었습니다.
exports
그러나
to China
저희가
were
정부를 인수했을 때는
good, but when I came to office, the economic growth rate of China was also in dire situation, and this was also an issue, therefore making it even worse than the situation in 2008. Looking at people's struggles, I was heartbroken, and I did my best together with the government officials to resolve these issues. And some of my cabinet members, who is an expert in economics, and that person told me that this is a very severe situation, that we really have to have our vision straight. And we were very desperate, and there were many sleepless nights. We worked tirelessly to correct one problem after another to overcome the crisis, reviving the economy and improving the lives of our people was just the singular focus that we had. Now the economy is beginning to recover. This year, the exports had reached record highs, and our current account surplus is projected to exceed $70 billion. The economic growth is also expected to surpass our 2% potential growth rate. In March next year, when we finalize the 24 trillion won Czech nuclear power project, I believe it will inject new vitality to our economy. To all of you who have worked so hard for the last 2.5 years, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude. Honorable citizens, now, as I enter the latter half of my presidency, until the day May 9th, 2027, that I end my term, I will do my utmost and pour all my efforts, and I will return to the basics and to the beginning anew. And in the remaining 2.5 years, I prioritize the people's livelihoods at the forefront.
잘못된 어떤 경제 기조, 국정 기조들을 정상화
we will stabilize. Until now, we were focused on stabilizing the things that went a bit off because of the wrong policies. Now, from now on, I will focus on the changes of the livelihoods, and the benefits could be palpable by the people, and that will be the focus of our capabilities and capacities in the future. So, we will stabilize prices and the housing market to ease the cost of living through measures like greenbelt adjustments and revitalizing redevelopment. We will ensure housing in the areas that people need. We will expand tailored financial aid and recovery support programs for small business owners and self-employed. Also, scholarships will be increased to create more jobs for our youth. My administration, the welfare is not focused on populism, but it is a welfare for the disadvantaged. We will respond with zero tolerance to
사회적 약자의 삶을 파괴하는
crimes that harm any
국민의 일상을
lives,
안전하게
and we will safeguard citizens' safety.
새롭게 들어설
The new administration in Washington, D.C., we will strengthen the U.S.-ROC Security Alliance to protect our freedom and peace with the new administration and further deepen the security, economic, and advanced technology cooperation so that we can expand the playground where we can run freely. We will also boost our economy's vitality, including semiconductors, AI, advanced bio, and quantum technology. These new growth engines will be fostered vigorously, and by doing so, we are going to substantially look into the ways of our future growth engines. Honorable citizens, healthcare, pensions, labor and education reforms, as well as efforts to address the demographic crisis, which is 4+1 reform, so to say, is something that is essential to our nation's future. We have to address the excessive competition and open a new era for our regions to find fundamental solutions to our population crisis. Unnecessary excessive competition is not helpful for our economy. And because of this, the focus on the metropolitan area is becoming more fierce. So, we are going to find fundamental solutions to this. The healthcare medical reform, we will proceed calmly and meticulously to ensure that the public is not concerned. About pension reform, the bill was submitted to the National Assembly in a very long time in our administration. So we have done the quantitative analysis, the FGI, worth of 5,600 trillion won. And in order to shorten the deliberation period in the National Assembly, we have done our part even more so that this could be passed as soon as possible with national consensus. Labor reform is based on rule of law, and based on that, it will be a flexible and dynamic market. Education reform has now gained traction. We have expanded our 늘봄 after-school plan and established new framework to nurture well-rounded future talents. This is a structural reform for our economy. We will listen closely to the public and ensure seamless reforms. Honorable citizens, I am well aware of the shortcomings of myself and my government. We will fix what needs to be fixed and I humbly will accept the will of the people and embark on a reforming state affairs. We will further strengthen communication between the ruling party and the government and become a competent government. We're now facing a fierce challenges at home and abroad. When we do well, this could turn into opportunities, and we have no time to waste. I believe there's nothing more important than working for the people's livelihood and the future. We point out what needs to be pointed out, but I really want to ask everyone to join forces to work for the people's livelihood and the future. We have a common challenge to hand down a good nation to our children. I will reflect on my mindset again to communicate more and work harder to so that people can feel the changes in their livelihood. Thank you.
네, 말씀 감사합니다. 이어서 기자회견을 바로 시작하겠습니다.
That was President Yoon's address to the nation as he reaches the halfway mark of his term. While we gather the highlights, let's turn to stories making the headlines at this hour. With a sweeping victory on Wednesday, former President Donald Trump will return to the White House as the country's 47th president. President Yoon and Trump spoke on the phone this morning, voicing hope of continuing healthy Seoul-Washington relations. And Wall Street and Bitcoin rallied to fresh record highs on Trump's election triumph. Tesla soared more than 14%, with investors hopeful that the firm will be a major beneficiary of Trump's victory. President Yoon is currently holding a press briefing after his address to the nation on a number of matters of public interest, including recent allegations raised by the opposition party. So we just saw President Yoon deliver his public address as it marks the midpoint of his presidency this week, and as the U.S. has chosen Donald Trump as its next president. We connect with our correspondent Oh Soo-young, who is standing by at the Yongsan presidential office. So Soo-young, today's briefing and press conference were scheduled rather abruptly in light of political controversy. Let's begin with why the presser was scheduled at this point.
Sure, Tammy. So you're right. The press conference, the national address and press conference was scheduled quite earlier than we expected, as it was supposed to be planned towards the end of the month. But apparently President Yoon agreed. He took his aide's advice to move up the date to this week. And while it is, of course, first timely as the president marks the halfway point of his administration this week. So it's a chance to reflect on what he's achieved so far and explain the direction of his policies for the remainder of his term. Thursday's event also comes during a politically difficult time for his administration. Yoon's approval ratings dropped below 20% last week amid recent allegations that he and First Lady Kim Gon-hee may have interfered in party politics in 2022. The opposition party last month leaked a recorded phone call in which Yoon allegedly discusses with Myung Tae-gyun, an obscure political consultant, about the ruling party's candidate selection process ahead of a by-election. Throughout his term, Yoon has been targeted with various accusations surrounding his wife's alleged misconduct and influence over his administration and personnel. So with this press conference, his office has expressed hope that his words will bring some clarity through comprehensive explanations to the public, as he will answer all questions posed to him regarding matters of public interest.
So many questions are likely focused on domestic political issues, but with the outcome of the U.S. presidential election, there'll also be attention on Yoon's reaction to Trump's victory, right?
Yes, we saw a very quick reaction. President Yoon tweeted last night a congratulatory message to the President-elect, and just this morning, about 2 hours ago, he held a phone call with President-elect Donald Trump, congratulating him on his significant victory. And according to Seoul's presidential office, the President-elect said that he was grateful. He conveyed his gratefulness and also his expression of gratitude to the South Korean people, his warm regards, and the two leaders first, according to Seoul's presidential office, discussed the trilateral cooperation between South Korea, the US and Japan. Yoon noted that the three-way relationship has grown stronger, which led to the establishment of the trilateral framework seen at the Camp David summit last August. Of last year, and he said that this owes in part to President Trump's contributions during his first term in strengthening the three-way cooperation. Yoon then expressed his hope that the South Korea-US alliance would continue as a close partnership spanning security, economy and all other areas. Trump apparently agreed and also said he hopes to continue the strong cooperation between their two countries. The two leaders also agreed to take joint leadership on matters concerning the Indo-Pacific region, the Korean Peninsula, as well as global matters. Trump noted that he'd actually heard much about the South Korean leaders' leadership before he added that the US shipbuilding industry requires South Korea's support and cooperation. He said that it would benefit the US to work closely with South Korea, not only in terms of ship exports, but also in maintenance, repair and refurbishment. The leaders, of course, they addressed the situation in North Korea as well. Yoon and Trump exchanged assessments of the ongoing developments regarding the dispatch of North Korean troops to aid Russia in Ukraine, as they expressed mutual concern over the war situation there. They also touched upon North Korea's evolving nuclear capabilities, its ICBM launches, waste balloon incursions, as well as GPS jamming in the West Sea, again expressing their concerns. The two leaders then agreed on the need to meet in person to discuss these issues more extensively, and according to Yoon's office, they will arrange a date and location on a working level through their teams.
A very busy morning for President Yoon. I'm sure we can expect a wide range of questions directed at him this morning. All right, So Young, thanks for the report this morning. Now, in the U.S., Donald Trump has officially become the next president, securing his second term in the Oval Office. Vice President Kamala Harris conceded the election, committing to a peaceful transfer of power. Our foreign affairs correspondent, Peunji, reports.
Trump has been declared the official winner and the 47th president of the United States, after gaining more than the 270 electoral votes needed to win this year's presidential election. Races haven't been called yet in Nevada and Arizona, but he is in the lead in both states, meaning that he has practically won in all 7 key battleground states. Those include Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, grouped as blue wall states that were once known for their strong Democratic support.
But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
Meanwhile, Harris delivered a concession speech, telling supporters that they must accept the results, while adding that she spoke with Trump and congratulated him on his victory.
A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny.
While the count continues in some states, voter turnout in this year's presidential election is expected to be close to the record high set in 2020. According to a Washington Post analysis of data from the Associated Press and the University of Florida Election Lab, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, voter turnout for this election stood at 65%. This year's figure is not expected to surpass the record of 66% reached 4 years ago, but it is set to be the second highest in the past century. Since the U.S. electoral system is based on indirect voting, it will still take weeks before the tallies are officially confirmed. The states will certify their results, and each state's executive, the governor in most cases, will sign certificates on December 11th, that formally allocate the state's electors to the winning candidate. Then, on the first Tuesday after the second Wednesday in December, which falls on December 17th this year, the electors will meet and cast their votes. The electoral votes will be counted on January 6th, and President-elect Trump will officially be sworn in on Inauguration Day, on January 20th. 배은지, Arirang News.
So, from an entrepreneur and TV show host to a re-elected president, Donald Trump has come a long way to stand where he is today. Our Shin Ha-young tells us more.
President-elect Donald Trump was born in 1946 in New York to a real estate mogul father. He graduated from the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School and followed his father's path to become a businessman. Trump rose to fame through the reality TV show The Apprentice, where the catchphrase, "You're fired," became popular.
Kamala, you're fired. Get out, get out. You're fired.
Trump was interested in running as the Reform Party nominee, but lost in the party's presidential primaries in 2000. In 2016, he ran for president as a Republican candidate, beating Democrat nominee Hillary Clinton to become the 45th president of the U.S. During his presidency, his America First policies were reflected in trade wars with China, strict immigration measures, and business-friendly actions such as tax cuts and easing government regulation. In 2020, Trump ran for re-election with the slogan, "Keep America Great," but lost to current President Joe Biden. After the loss, he refused to accept the results and faced charges for allegedly inciting the 2021 January 6th Capitol riot. Trump became the first president in the U.S. to be impeached by the House twice and also the first U.S. leader to be tried for impeachment by the Senate after leaving office. He currently faces 4 criminal indictments with outcomes still pending. Despite many twists and turns, Trump ran for president again this year, reviving his 2016 slogan, "Make America Great Again." During a rally in Pennsylvania in July, he was wounded in the ear during an assassination attempt, a moment that quickly became a symbol of solidarity for many of his supporters and a grim reminder of political violence in the U.S.
This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again.
In securing a second term, Trump became the oldest president at age 78 and the second in U.S. history to lose re-election and later win a second term. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
The first Korean-American senator in U.S. history, Andy Kim, pledged to repair broken politics and emphasized a first-of-its-kind opportunity after 120 years of Korean immigration to America. Speaking at a press conference in the hotel he and his family left out of when they first moved to New Jersey, Kim expressed a profound humility as he prepares to take on a role only around 2,000 Americans have served throughout history. He emphasized that his election represents the start of a new political era and that he will dedicate himself to healing the country. Kim was first elected to Congress in 2018 and will now become one of the 3 Asian American senators in office after defeating Republican businessman Curtis Bishaw. Now, why Trump over Harris? Why did American voters eventually decide to give Trump another chance? For more, we are joined by Professor John Cook. Welcome, Professor Cook.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very good.
Professor Cook, we were talking about the count-taking days, but it looks like the race wasn't tight as we all thought. What stole the hearts of American voters, especially in swing states?
The election results tell us that the election was a referendum on the Biden administration. Rising prices and increasing number of undocumented immigrants made the administration unpopular, which made them to switch their support to Trump. The swing toward Trump was actually less pronounced among swing states compared to non-swing states, which means the swing toward Trump was prevalent all across the country.
Well, Professor Cook, would you say Trump's, good old America first or make America great again strategy worked this time?
It was rather voters' nostalgia for the economy under Trump administration. While voters may not have been able to identify which specific policies were effective, they felt confident their standard of living was better under Trump.
Well, let's talk about how he will shape up his new cabinet. Who do you think Trump will invite to be his aides? I mean, the officials from his first term are no longer on good terms with Trump, are they?
They are definitely not in good terms.
Right.
So there's a lot of chatter on who's going to be in his cabinet and who's going to work in the White House. So for the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, who led the Trump's campaign, is considered to be the Chief of Staff. If she's chosen, the administration will be on a more stable path because she was able to run a very solid campaign. Other names such as Brooke Rollins, Roosevelt, Kevin McCarthy are other potential candidates. For National Security Advisor, Richard Grenell, Trump's former ambassador to Germany and acting director of national intelligence, is seen as top candidate, and various senators are considered for cabinet positions. And Trump is keenly interested in having an attorney general who will be loyal to him. There are also famous names such as RFK Jr. and Elon Musk. They are less likely to be in cabinet positions, but they will serve as more likely as advisor roles.
Well, some familiar faces and names here and there, but we'll definitely expect to see some new faces in the cabinet. But what do you think will be his number one task once his term actually begins in January?
So there are these new reports on his first 100 days agenda. They include closing the U.S.-Mexico border, launching a mass deportation operation, and gutting Biden's climate policies. Policies that are likely to be implemented first are those policies that will be go through executive orders. And one policy that I can think is regarding to U.S.-Mexico border policies. So that you expect them to be the first executive order.
Well, then the question is, how long will it take Trump to actually conduct foreign policy tasks involving us, South Korea, and Korean Peninsula issues, especially, those issues involving North Korea, soon or later? What do you think?
So foreign policy issues are not in the priority during the first 100 days. Although I believe there will be massive effort from South Korean government and companies to lobby on issues such as tariff or EV policies. So there won't be a very salient during the first 100 days, but in the surface, you're going to see a lot of movement happen.
Right. And, there were concerns that Trump may, try to renegotiate the defense cost-sharing deal with South Korea, which is why the deal was sealed a lot earlier than usual this year. Professor Cook, will that worry come true now that he's back?
Actually, I think this detail should be discussed in a more broader term. So I would like to redirect the conversation to a broader subject, which is about Trump's foreign policy apparatus. So previous Trump administration was restrained by a traditional foreign policy wing of the conservative foreign policy circles, but it'll be different this time. Even though there are 3 different groups that consist the new right who are loyal to Trump, the most dominant group is national conservatives, and they're likely to advocate for a pivot from Europe to Asia. So this Asia-first approach will likely to have huge implications to the geopolitical competition in East Asia. So keenly following these new conservative policy circles is going to be the most important task for the South Korean government and intellectuals.
All right, Professor Cook, thanks so much for joining us all the way from Michigan this morning. We appreciate it. Staying in the U.S., Wall Street also welcomed the news of Donald Trump's victory, with 3 of its key indexes hitting new all-time highs. Now, Bitcoin also soared to fresh record highs. Lee Seung-jae reports.
The U.S. economy was one of the biggest issues leading up to the presidential elections on Tuesday. Voters chose Trump, believing he's the right person to tackle economy-related issues. And during Wednesday's trading session on Wall Street, investors felt the same. Three major indexes all jumped to reach fresh all-time highs following the confirmation of Trump's win. The S&P 500 rose 2.5%, the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped 3.6%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq increased 3%. As Elon Musk has shown active support for Trump, Tesla jumped more than 14% during Wednesday's trading session. Trump, who's seen as a more active supporter of cryptocurrencies than his Democratic rival, saw that market pump as it became more and more apparent that he would win the U.S. presidential election. According to Binance, the price of Bitcoin as of 6 a.m. Korea Standard Time jumped 10% to surpass $76,000. Global oil prices fell as investors weighed a strong U.S. dollar on the news of Trump's win. Both the Brent and West Texas Intermediate futures for January delivery fell on the news of Trump's return to the Oval Office. The U.S. dollar rose to reach its highest level since September 2022. The dollar index, which measures the greenback against 6 major currencies, including the euro and the yen, rose 1.25%. Economists say the president-elect's tariff and immigration policies have been increasing the value of the U.S. dollar, while his foreign policy could squeeze global oil supply, leading to a decline in global oil prices. 이승재, Arirang News.
Washington says North Korean soldiers have begun engaging in combat against the Ukrainian military. Speaking to Reuters, multiple U.S. officials said the North Korean troops have seen combat for the first time in Russia's Kursk. One official cited November 4th as the date of North Korea's first engagement in war. Now, the report did not provide special details, including whether or not there have been casualties. However, a senior U.S. official told the New York Times on Tuesday that a significant number of North Korean troops have been killed already. South Korea's current account logged a surplus for the 5th straight month in September on the back of booming semiconductor exports. Preliminary data from the Bank of Korea on Tuesday showed that the country's current account balance in September recorded a surplus of $11.12 billion. It was driven by the goods account, which tracks exports and imports of products, logging a surplus and recording an 18-month in the black. Exports amounted to more than $61 billion as semiconductor chip exports rose by over 36% compared to the same month the previous year.
Good morning, I'm Kim Jiyoung, and this is The World Now. We begin today in Germany, where the country's three-party ruling coalition collapsed on Wednesday after German Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced a vote of confidence and sacked his Finance Minister Christian Lindner of the Liberal FDP. Scholz of Germany's Social Democratic Party and leaders of the Free Democratic Party and the Greens gathered at the Chancellery in Berlin on Wednesday evening to decide the fate of the coalition, after which Scholz announced the sacking of Lindner, saying that the FDP finance minister had broken his trust too many times, adding that Lindner is more concerned with his own clientele and the survival of his own party. Now, addressing the public after the meeting, Scholz said there would be a vote of confidence on his coalition government on the 15th of January next year. An Israeli airstrike in Lebanon's Baalbek-Hermel region on Wednesday has killed at least 38 and injured 54. The governor of Baalbek-Hermel said that the region saw 40 Israeli strikes on Wednesday, while further airstrikes were reported in South Beirut, an alleged stronghold for the Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group. On the same day, Lebanon's Civil Defense Service said they have recovered 30 bodies from the rubble of an apartment building in the coastal town of Barja that was hit in an Israeli airstrike on Tuesday. Now, the Israeli military said that it was an attack on Hezbollah's terror infrastructure. The U.S. military on Tuesday evening test-launched an unarmed Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The nuclear-capable ICBM Minuteman III, made by Boeing, has a range of some 10,000 kilometers and travels at about 24,000 kilometers per hour. About 400 of the missiles are stationed at U.S. Air Force bases in Montana, North Dakota, and Wyoming.
The autumn cold snap has hit its peak today on Ipdong, the start of winter on the seasonal calendar. Feels like temperatures in the capital were near zero on the way to work this morning, and many inland regions had the coldest temperatures of the season, with frost and ice being seen. But at least the highs will go up a couple of degrees higher this afternoon compared to yesterday, so you might feel too warm in a winter jacket by the time we head out for lunch. Then tomorrow afternoon, we could see the cold snap easing, with readings going above norms just in time for the weekend. Now, top readings for today will be 1 to 3 degrees higher, topping out at 14 degrees Celsius here in the capital, and Chuncheon, Daegu, Gyeongju will make it to 17 degrees under sunny skies in most parts of Korea. Rain is in store for Jeju tonight into early tomorrow, but the rest of the country will enjoy bright autumn sunshine with mild autumn temperatures through next week. Well, that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day and Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time, 10 a.m. Korea time.